Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on Cold Lasagna. And I thought to myself, since my San Francisco 49ers have already played in week 3 and they're still on the mini bye week, so I'm basically waiting for the next game. And with the whole NFL week 3 game slate about to get underway as well, if it hasn't already. So yeah, I thought to myself, let's talk a little bit about wrestling because there was a whole storm of news that happened this past week, especially on that Thursday during this past week. One of those things that happened this past week in the wide world of wrestling was the mass amount of releases in the talent department. And we haven't had that in quite some time, 2 years ago to be exact, when there was like 3 waves of cuts in WWE. And here we are 2 years later with the whole merger within Endeavor between UFC and WWE. And now we had corporate cuts, and now we have a week later talent cuts. So we're here to talk about it here in this video. I know I'm kind of late out of date on the topic, but as you know per here with Cold Lasagna, football comes a priority, but whenever I have some downtime, we talk about some wrestling. But yeah, we're here to talk about the talent cuts that got released this past week. And yeah, before we get started though, I do want to say a little bit of a disclaimer. I know it does suck that these people got released. I mean, yeah, it definitely does. But at the end of the day, WWE is a business. It can be cold-hearted. Some of them were talented, some of them weren't. But in the end, if you weren't doing your job well, or they weren't utilizing you, or you were cut for other controversial reasons, then WWE has to cut the cord with you. But that does not mean there are other opportunities out there. You have, if you want to continue on with wrestling, AEW, TNA/Impact, New Japan, what other companies you want to explore and try to either develop something new, improve on something in your wrestling career, it is out there for you. And then if you see an opportunity to come back to WWE, should you choose to continue to do so, then by all means, take it. Take that opportunity to come back in WWE. But if not, there's another door ready for you to open. So that's all I'll say about that. So that being said, let's take a look at the latest round of cuts by Endeavor and WWE, shall we? The first superstar that was released this past Thursday that pretty much triggered the wave of cuts on that Thursday was Mustafa Ali. And I wasn't a fan at all of Mustafa Ali because I thought, in my eyes, he was a jobber, and all he was a work rate guy with not a lot of charisma, not so much character. The only thing I remember about Mustafa Ali was his whole failed retribution gimmick, like during the Thunderdome/pandemic era. Yeah, it was just a total failure where he tried to get that group over with him causing chaos, behind the scenes before he revealed himself. Yeah, that failed jobber group in Retribution, and before they scrapped the whole thing. But anyway, why it was surprising to me though, despite all that, well, because he was in the middle of a storyline. He was in the middle of a storyline with Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee down in NXT, and then now all of a sudden, he asked for his release. He was actually not part of the talent cut. He actually came to a mutual agreement between WWE and himself to be granted his release. So after like 2 years of him complaining about not getting his release, he now gets it here. But it's kind of weird. The timing is weird because this Saturday he's supposed to get an NXT North American title shot against Dominic Mysterio, but now you have a NXT North American title match between Dragon Lee and Dominic on Raw. So are you gonna do that match again on No Mercy? It's kind of weird. Like, the timing is all weird, but for Mustafa Ali, I mean, he finally gets his release. He finally gets what he wants. So, I mean, whenever he can do whatever he wants now. I imagine he's going to go to AEW and put all the work rate matches that he wants. But yeah, it is what it is. I just find the timing really weird for Mustafa Ali. But it is what it is. And then you had Rick Boogs. I thought Rick Boogs was whatever. But the only thing I liked about Rick Boogs was that, as it pictured here, him being the ultimate hype man for Shinsuke Nakamura which I thought was one of the best things about Nakamura during his whole WWE tenure, and him being the hype man, like dancing around the commentary table with the guitar with Pat McAfee. It was like super, it was corny, but it was funny as heck. But then I think the ultimate downfall for Rick Boogs in WWE was him suffering a serious knee injury during a tag team title match at WrestleMania 38. It was like a very bad injury, and then he just never recovered from there. They repackaged him, and yeah, I guess he really couldn't make it work, which is unfortunate for Rick Boogs. And then you have Aaliyah. I kind of learned that she's been around since 2015, and she's been in NXT for like the longest time, and she didn't make her main roster debut until like 2022. So wow, like a really long time down in NXT. And then she has this whole storyline with Natalya, and she beats her in like what WWE touted as the fastest record in WWE history, which I think is kind of false, or like at least for a women's match, I guess. But I don't know. They touted it as Aaliyah 317, which is again one of the fastest records in WWE history for a women's match. Maybe you guys could correct me on that. And then they moved on from that to pairing her up with Raquel Rodriguez in the vacant women's tag team title tournament, which again was vacant at the time because of the whole Sasha and Naomi walkout. And then they make it to the finals against Dakota Kai and Io Sky of Damage Control, and they actually win that tournament, but then they drop it the very next week on Raw, which was also very weird. And then they don't use Aaliyah again at all after, not in any storylines, not in any like filler feuds, like nothing. Just absolutely nothing for Aaliyah after that. I found that very odd. I thought she was like decent in the ring. She could have used like some more like matches to help fine tune her craft. Maybe she wasn't like developing well enough, or during her time in NXT or like on the main roster. But I mean, she had the look, she had the charisma. I thought there was some potential there, but maybe not enough for WWE officials to like really push her forward, especially Triple H, I guess. But a shame for Aaliyah now that she's released. But it was really unfortunate that they didn't really utilize her after a year or such. But oh well. And then probably one of the two, actually the biggest cut in this whole thing is Elias. It's kind of wasted potential with Elias, man. Him having his whole drifter gimmick. He was really popular with the crowd with his guitar and playing his songs. And then the whole chant, "Who wants to walk with Elias?" I really liked it. I really liked the whole Elias gimmick a lot. It was just a shame that they strapped on the whole Ezekiel, not Elliott gimmick. You know, his brother. Ezekiel, not Elliott, of the not Dallas Cowboys / not New England Patriots. His brother. It had a little interest in it, but I guess they scrapped the whole thing. But kind of shame that they didn't really use it, live up to his potential. He could have been at least United States or Intercontinental Champion, like a good mid-card guy. But shame that they didn't want to use him like for those kind of purposes. Real shame. And then you had Riddick Moss. I didn't really like care so much for Riddick Moss. He was basically like a filler guy. The only thing I remember about Riddick Moss was being like Baron Corbin's sidekick as Madcap Moss, like the butt of the joke for Baron Corbin. And then after he split away from Baron Corbin, that was just pretty much it for Riddick Moss. I don't know. And then you have Top Dollar. Oh man, he was the new leader of Hit Row after Swerve Strickland went to AEW, and then I guess the whole Hit Row thing just really flopped with Top Dollar there. Like once they got released in 2021, and then Triple H brought them back the year after, and then it was just I don't know, maybe they were just brought back as enhancement talent. And then Triple H tried to use them, but then we had the whole infamous botch by Flop Dollar, because he tried to do a top rope suicida, like a top rope dive, but then he really messed up. Like he didn't stick the dive, and he instead just like flopped like a fish over the top rope, and it just looked really awkward. And then from there, Michael Cole just started burying him on commentary, which was kind of an indication that, well, you know that you're eventually going to get released, which is unfortunate. For Top Dollar. And then he also got into some like Twitter beef with a lot of people, which is also not good for him. But it is what it is. It's only Top Dollar that got released and not the rest of Hit Row. But I mean, maybe they do have plans for the rest of them, but I don't know. It's kind of an interesting situation there. Shelton Benjamin was also released. Yeah, it was interesting that, you know, maybe he was a good backstage figure for them. I thought he could have been a coach or a producer for WWE, not necessarily like a talent during his second run. I thought for Shelton Benjamin during his second run, he was just like a filler person. Even during his time with the Hurt Business with Bobby Lashley and Cedric Alexander. Cedric is also a filler guy in the Hurt Business. So it is what it is. I personally enjoyed Shelton Benjamin more during his earlier run with the company. So it's whatever. Emma / Tennille Dashwood. I don't know why Triple H even brought her back when he didn't really utilize her at all. Like barely. It's like you brought back Emma. I think her first match was against Ronda Rousey, who just won the SmackDown Women's title from Liv Morgan. And then she held an open challenge. And then you bring back Emma to lose to Ronda. What the hell? And then you didn't use her after that. It's like, wow, what a waste. What a waste of a signing right there. And then perhaps the biggest release by everyone, whether you're hardcore or casual fan in the IWC, was Dolph Ziggler. Now for Dolph Ziggler, he had been around since like almost 2 decades. Like as it says here, 2004. And even I'm not the biggest Dolph Ziggler fan, but I was kind of surprised myself. I thought he was going to be WWE for life, but I guess eventually time was just not on Dolph's side. And I guess in recent years, I mean, he wasn't really doing a whole lot because, well, WWE didn't have anything else in store for him, considering that, well, he's wrestled over what I see on Twitter is like over 2,000 matches, and he's pretty much done pretty much everything that you can ask him for. Put over people, and won just about every mid-card title that you can ask for. He even won an NXT title from Braun Breaker, I think it was like last year. And then he's won like multiple tag team titles, and then he's also was a former world heavyweight champion when he had one of those like memorable cash-ins, but unfortunately his reign got cut because of a concussion a couple months later, and then WWE never really gave him another chance. But I mean, personally for me with Dolph Ziggler, I just saw him as an upper mid-card guy or to mid-card guy because, like, sure, he cut a couple of good promos, but I mean, his charisma and his personality were just It's just pretty much But I mean, personally, I mean, he seems like a good guy. He seems like a nice, cool guy to be around with. He does comedy on the side, so maybe he could continue to explore that. But yeah, I mean, I guess WWE just didn't really have a lot left to do with Dolph Ziggler other than be like a guy that he could put people over, or help put others over. So I mean, I don't know what else you could have done with Dolph until whenever he's done in the ring. And yeah, almost 2 decades. I remember him being the Spirit Squad as like Nikki, and then he transitioned to Dolph Ziggler. Kind of crazy there. And then you have a bunch of other jobbers on this list. Dabo Cato, all I remember him was him being the bodyguard of Apollo Crews when he was in that Nigerian warrior gimmick back in the Thunderdome. Dana Brooke, I never really bought it in too much with Dana, but from what I saw in NXT, I mean, she was trying to make the most of what was given to her when she was in the last like couple months down in NXT, but I don't know. I just never really like bought into like what she was trying to do. She was like kind of like a work rate woman by that point. So it is what it is. But hopefully she can revitalize herself wherever she goes next, and then maybe make another return to WWE. So we'll see. Mansoor and Mace, the Max Male Models. I mean, pretty much a jobber group. down there. And then Quincy Elliott, I mean, I didn't really care for him, but all I remember, like, when I saw, like, scrolling through Twitter that he got into a lot of heat for sliding to DMs and then talking shit on people. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just whatever. I guess that WWE realized that, yeah, we can't have this bad PR anymore with Quincy Elliott. And I know you can hear, like, maybe you can hear some, like, lawnmower shit in the background, but bear with me, people. Shanky, I don't really care. Quincy, Yulisa Leon, I don't know who that is. I don't know who Kevin Ventura Cortez, I also don't know who Ikman Jiro, and I don't know the rest of these people, Brooklyn Barlow and Bryson Montana. But yeah, that's pretty much your releases from the WWE in this current wave of releases in the fall cleanup from both endeavor of WWE. But actually, there is one more that happened this past weekend. So, and this was one that people were kind of wondering, like, how come this didn't happen? But it actually did happen. So this one came from the man himself, and that was Matt Riddle. It happened on the Friday after the mass wave of cuts. So Matt Riddle went on Twitter or /X, and he went on to say right before SmackDown, he pretty much said that he also got cut. And with Matt Riddle, I'll say this, you know, I was not like a fan of Matt Riddle, like not like a super fan, but I kind of dug the tag team with him and Randy Orton. I thought that was the one bearable thing I liked with Matt Riddle. I wasn't the whole fan of him like showing off his feet, like he had a whole foot fetish, but I mean, he was an MMA fighter, so maybe that makes sense. But him just like being like high as hell, him going around like in the scooter like he was in kindergarten or something. Yeah, it's like you're on national TV, bro. It's like, can you be a little bit more serious? Especially if you're in a team with Randy Orton, like who was like a veteran in the game. It's like, come on, man. And you're a former MMA UFC fighter. Like, you kind of need to take advantage of that. Like, go to creative and like try to make a gimmick out of that. But yeah, I couldn't really buy Matt Riddle as a serious wrestler during this time. But I mean, it is what it is. Especially, and also considering that Matt Riddle was also getting himself into a lot of like personal and legal trouble. Especially the one recently where he was accusing a TSA officer at an airport of sexually assaulting him, but that ended up being false, which was the straw that broke the camel's back for WWE. So yeah, it was kind of a weird situation for them. So that, I guess that WWE had enough of it. They were done. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm not the biggest Matt Riddle fan, but I mean, hopefully he can clean himself up, and then hopefully he doesn't get into any more trouble, and wherever he lands next, he can go on and succeed there. But anyway, yeah, those are your cuts from the WWE as of right now, and I'd like to know your thoughts on each of these wrestlers, notably Elias, Dolph Ziggler, Matt Riddle, and I guess to agree, Mustafa Ali. But let me know your thoughts on these wrestlers in the comments below and these mass cuts in general. Yeah, definitely a big week in terms of WWE news. But yeah, I'd just like to know your thoughts in the comments below on all these releases. And yeah, if there are any more, I'll let you guys know if I can. But I'd like to know your thoughts. And that's it for me here in this video. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.